Okay. Call the City of Westfield, Indiana Advisory Planning Commission to order for November 4th, 2020. Will the staff please call the roll and note the presence of quorum?
Ms. Berkman?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Present.
Mr. Horkay? Mr. Johns?
Here.
Dr. Kelleher?
Here.
Mr. Maui?
Here.
Mr. McCarty?
Here.
Mr. Schmitz?
Here.
Ms. Boljaric?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next up is consideration and approval of the minutes from October 19, 2020. Having had opportunity to review those minutes, are there any additions, corrections, or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion made by Ms. Boljaric, seconded by Mr. McCarty, to approve the minutes of October 19, 2020 as written. Will the staff please call the roll?
Ms. Berkman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Johns?
Yes.
Dr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Ms. Boljaric?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up, I would appreciate if you would review the rules and procedures for tonight's meeting.
Due to the COVID-19 emergency, as declared by the Governor of Indiana, the format and conduct of the meeting has been modified to comply with executive orders regarding the conduct of public meetings, public hearings, and public gatherings. Relevant portion of the Indiana Open Door Law have been amended or suspended during the pendency of the emergency. For our items this evening that do require a public hearing, the department will summarize the petition. Then the petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present to the Plan Commission. The president will open a public hearing. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak. The public hearing will be closed when all interested members of the audience have had a chance to be heard, and all emails received during the meeting have been provided to Plan Commission members. The petitioner will then have a chance to respond to comments, and the Plan Commission will follow with any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the petition. For our non-public hearing evenings tonight, the department will summarize the petition and highlight any changes or modifications since the item was last before the Plan Commission. And the department will also describe what action, if any, is necessary to be taken by the Plan Commission. The petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present any changes. For our general rules of conduct this evening, we ask that you please not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time, and again, if you must answer them, please quietly exit the room. If you are attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition that is scheduled for a public hearing, then please fill out a yellow card, which are available in the back of the room as well as up here by the podium, and bring it to us prior to the presentation of the petition. During your comments, please state your name and address into the microphone for the record, and we ask that you please not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed, and you will be advised when there is approximately 30 seconds remaining. If you are not attending in person, you may email a comment to planners@westfield.in.gov with the petition name or number included in the subject line. Those comments will be forwarded to Plan Commission members along with the petitioner. We would also like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphone so that your comments can be put onto the record. Also, please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Next up is the consent agenda. For the record, it contains 3 items: 2010-DDP-23 Unlimited Motors, 2010-DDP-25 Westfield, Washington Early Childhood Learning Center and Central Administration Office, also 2010-DDP-26 Chick-fil-A Wheeler Landing. I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Real quick, is it okay if I have a question? Sure. Okay. I don't know if staff might be able to answer this. I'm just trying to think advance because I know I'll get questions about it. Is there any timetables for like the Chick-fil-A Unlimited Motors and when it might start, if you guys might know?
No, we're not aware of
Okay.
the timelines at
I
this
just
time.
wanted to check real quick, but that's it. I'll second.
Have a motion made by Mr. Maui to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Maui, seconded by Mr. McCarty to approve the consent agenda as written. Will the staff please call the roll?
Ms. Berkman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Johns?
Yes.
Dr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Ms. Boljaric?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item of business is Plan Commission Order 20-03.
I've had a couple of these roll through lately. This one is a repeat of one that you approved some time ago, but since they changed the financing parameters, it was decided that it'd have to come through here again. But as far as I know, and as far as I've been, as it's been explained to me, this plan has not changed and is compliant with our comp plan.
Okay. Questions or comments from commissioners? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Plan Commission Order 20-03.
I'll second that.
I have a motion made by Mr. McCarty, seconded by Mr. Maui, to approve Plan Commission Order 20-03. Staff, please call the roll.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Johns?
Yes.
Dr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Ms. Boljaric?
Yes.
Ms. Bergman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Our next item up on the agenda this evening does require a public hearing. That item is 2011-ODP-17, 2011-SPP-17, Chatham Hills Phase 1 Amendment.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, I am Corey Harris of the Community Development. This is the proposed Chatham Villages Phase 1 Amendment to the Chatham Villages Phase 1 Primary Plat and Overall Development Plan located on the northeast corner of 196th Street and Tomlinson Road. The proposed plans show an additional 108 detached single-family lots in one block on approximately 190 acres in the Chatham Hills PUD District. This item is scheduled for its public hearing tonight. It has been properly noticed and advertised, and staff has received one public comment. Phil Sunley of Hinkey Development Group is here virtually to present, and I am available for questions for staff.
Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. My name is Phil Sunling, and I'm with the Hankey Development Group. I really appreciate your time and your consideration of our petition this evening. As Corey noted, we are seeking approval for 108 single-family lots on just under 190 acres within the Chatham Hills PUD. Just to give you some perspective, this portion of Chatham is located east of Tomlinson Road, north of 196th Street, west of US 31, and generally south of the Phase 1 of Chatham Village, which if you recall, was brought forward and approved back, I believe in May of this year. We are actively finalizing the construction details for that Section 1, and our goal is to start construction there as early as this fall. This particular portion of Chatham Village to its south will carry on the same level of quality that you see in existing Chatham Hills, particularly comparable to the Hampton and Prescott sections, which are located along Tomlinson Road there just to the west. We are proposing 58 70-foot lots along the eastern portion of this ground, along a 10-acre recreational lake, which will, of course, be a central amenity to the village. West of these 70-foot lots, along Tomlinson Road will be 50 90-foot lots. These larger estate-style lots, if you recall, were something we committed to during the zoning process along the frontage, paralleling Windsor Estates there to our west. All of these newly proposed homes are expected to range in price anywhere from $600,000 to $900,000. Also, this phase of Chatham Village will include a new connection to 196th Street, which will certainly alleviate the concerns with respect to construction traffic as well as future vehicular traffic along Tomlinson Road. Rather than carrying up Tomlinson, folks will now be able to access Chatham Village and Chatham Hills, for that matter, from 196th Street through the Chatham Hills Boulevard. Certainly alleviating a lot of pressure off Tomlinson Road there. We, of course, are very excited to get going on the development here at Chatham Village. The demand in Chatham Hills and Westfield in general for this type of product is incredible. So I believe this is a public hearing tonight, so I'd be happy to answer happy to address any concerns from the public, and certainly available for questions from you all at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sundling. This item does require a public hearing this evening. Open the public hearing at 7:11 p.m. Do we have any cards?
We do not have any cards, and we do just want to point out for anybody here that on the agenda online, this is listed with the SPP docket number twice. On the printed one, it does have the ODP as well, but this public hearing is for SPP and ODP 17. So if that changes anyone's.
Thank you, Ms.
opinion.
Howard. Anyone here in the public here to speak in this public hearing this evening? Any emails?
None at this time.
Let's give it just a minute here. Ms. Howard, last call, anything?
No emails.
All right, having no interest in the public hearing this evening from the public, I will close the public hearing at 7:13 p.m. Commissioners have any questions or comments? Actually, I'll call the roll on the commissioners if you'll hold. But this is time for the commissioners. Any questions or comments to Mr. Harris or Mr. Sundling? And we will start with Ms. Spalgeric this evening. Questions or comments?
I do. Can we talk about those lots that front Tomlinson and what we're looking at with the buffer yard on Tomlinson?
Yeah, so there to the south, if you recall, Cindy, this is Phil, by the way, Phil Sundling. We are preserving the trees that are in front of Windsor Estates there. Yeah, scroll down just a little bit. Keep on heading south, Corey. There you go. See there, right across from Windsor Estates, Cindy, that is the area that we committed to preserving. There's existing trees in that area. We did a tree study. We had Larry Hemp do a tree study, I guess a few weeks back, to take inventory of those trees, a lot of which are in good shape. So we're going to certainly preserve those, and any dead ash or any trees that if we need to supplement that, we certainly will. But I believe it's all in pretty good shape, and all of that will be preserved.
Okay, so, I mean, you don't have a lot that's got to come out. You're going to be able to save it?
Yep, that's correct.
Thank you.
Sure.
Did you have more, Cindy? I'm sorry.
Not right now. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Schmitz, questions or comments?
None from me, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cardy, questions, comments?
Yeah, just a quick two. One to follow up on Cindy with the frontage there. Is there going to be like a sidewalk for people to see? I think I remember in the past seeing some sort of renderings that looks kind of like West Clay a little bit, or
Yeah. So this area, this will have a perimeter trail along Tomlinson Road there. As you enter kind of in the village area, there to the north, there's going to be a trail that runs east-west. That came through in phase one back in May. This particular section doesn't really have any trails except for the perimeter trails. But our goal is to lead folks into the village area there just north of the 10-acre lake. So we'll have sidewalks on these particular lots, of course. But yeah, our goal is to get folks connectivity east-west across Tomlinson, of course, and into the village.
okay. And so their garages will be on the back end then?
These lots are actually all served from the fronts. The
okay.
previous section were all rear load, like you mentioned. But yeah, all of these are actually front load.
Okay. Then my second question was just to help map it out in my head. With this being phase one, the phase two on the opposite side of the lake and kind of the boardwalk and so forth, is that where the shops and other things I've seen in the past renderings is going to be?
Yep. So just north of the 10-acre lake, there's I don't know exactly how many acres it is, but it's a good size. Yeah, that's perfect. Basically all in that area, south of that road up there on phase one and north of that lake is all considered the village area where we'll have shops and amenities. That we're looking at doing an amphitheater. There's a lot of cool things that we're planning in there, a playground and so forth. So it'll be a really neat area for not only Chatham but for Westfield in general.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Maui, questions, comments?
I have no questions, thanks.
Mr. Johns, questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
On the out chance that Mr. Horke has joined, Mr. Horke, questions, comments? Ms. Berkman, questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Dr. Kelleher, questions, comments?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not as well. Anyone need a second round? Ms. Polgeri?
No, thank you.
No? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda is a petition update, 2009-PUD-11. Mr. Dalton?
Have a pointer. And then I just need the concept plan up. Okay, can I do it down here? Thank you. Thank you, APC members, Birch, Dalton, Edgerock, 555 East Main Street, Westfield, Indiana. The purpose of tonight was to update where we're at as we're proceeding on the PUD ordinance for this. And what you're going to see here is an updated concept plan that's come from a few meetings with counselors, APC comments, and staff. Let me just give you a general update. Does everybody hear me all right? Okay. We met with staff on multiple occasions and communicated with staff on the questions. You'll see a master list in your packet where we've answered all the questions that were provided to us. We met with Public Works and City Engineering to discuss the traffic, the road improvements, and the road cuts. Out of those meetings with the Public Works, City, and some of our counselors, we cut the requested number of 191st Street road cuts from 4 to 3, we removed this one here, which does a couple of things as we get down to final plating. It allows weekly, if they need to expand this direction, if they need to pick up any room to comply with the final maximum on that District 4. And it obviously takes a cut off 191st Street. In discussing with Public Works and City Engineering, putting in a third lane along here, 191st, passing blisters to keep traffic moving along here in that 60-foot easement they're requiring for us. And at this time, they're suggesting that we do not do the roundabout until 191st Street is completely designed, of which I believe it's about 50% designed at this time, and there's a better vision on the funds to do the entire road. But they were pretty adamant about creating passing blisters to keep traffic flowing here, which I'm sure you're dealing with down at the distillery also. So the third lane option will need to be worked into this master development. Due to comments and input from various people, we reduced the 191st Street signage down from our initial request for 4 large signs, one of which obviously we don't need one because there's no cut here, to 1 major project sign for this development, and then 1 for this commercial and David Weekley. So we've met with Councilor Spalgeric and David Weekley to discuss her concerns in District 4 and 3, as far as most particularly here with David Weekley on this project, which is very similar to Suffolk, that has done extremely well behind Kroger. And we had many concerns, just one of many that we've worked through and will be showing in our updated ordinance. One was a roof pitch issue, which there was a particular model that didn't show very well in her view at Suffolk, and so David Weekley's agreed to remove that model from this project to stay in line with the vision for it. Met with Councilor Spalgeric and Councilor Johns to discuss the overall PUD. Major concerns ranging from having tighter and better standards for District 2, which we're in the process of tightening up. Along with that, a reasonable request from Councilor Johns was to have documentation of a rental study to support the projected rents for this project, which should be completed and out to you by Monday of next week. Rent studies take a little time. We had a long discussion on housing mix, which, I think we came to conclusion here, and here. As of tonight, I want to know this townhomes is being pulled from the PUD. We'll update that, and so we're going to lose District 6. And then also on this along the Monon, we're going to be shrinking or moving the church farther down to take advantage of the large parking field we're going to have for our tennis pickleball sports facility. So I think we gained some, future vision for this, is that important along the Monon. Discussed, both of them wanted a sunset period for the zoning, which I'm agreeable to work out as we go over the phasing of it. So I think, I don't know how many other PUDs have come forth and worked on that, but, I see why the counselors and APC members would want that, so I think we can work that into the ordinance. Along with that, they wanted to see a return to this main water feature to kind of help create that Pigeon Forge, Disney Springs type atmosphere, as we develop, the buildings here. So we've brought that back made it a focal point, sense of arrival going down the middle of it. Kind of address APC member Berkman's concerns. One, I appreciate her support for the tennis pickleball project, and I agree we need to write it in a little clearer in the ordinance, which we will do. Both Mr. Horkay and Berkman and others suggested we do that. I will tell you, there's been a tremendous amount of support from the racket community, mostly on the pickleball side, to build a world-class indoor pickleball facility, because it's a very hot growing trend in the racket business. And if you look at Naples, Florida, the city's investing an additional $23 million in an outdoor court, which is the World National Outdoors in Naples. So, and we would work with Grand Park and Grand Park personnel to probably manage the facility and help market the tournament. So we see it as a new opportunity for another facility here. I also appreciate the support APC member Berkman gave on the Pigeon Forge concept. And, you know, to alleviate one of our concerns, we have tightened up our overall theme for the project. And, you know, staff has worked pretty hard on the lighting and some of the characteristics of it. And kind of in final of her comments, for District 3 and 4, we have added four-sided architectural exhibits, and we will agree on maximums. And if you look at the northern district here, you know, this is where I'm building my home. You know, this is my downsize from where I'm at in 2 years. And so the commitment to quality and uniqueness and so forth, you know, along with that, the seller of this ground has a lot in here too. So it's not like we're not putting our skin in the game and staying here. So to APC member Horkay's comments, I think most of them were on the master list and we answered it. But I think a couple of the key things, again, he referred to the roof pitch issue, which we discussed with Councilor Spoljaric, and I think we have resolved. But he made a comment on the restaurant drive-through, or what I call the new COVID era. And I don't know if we shared an article I have, but there's a very specific view of the future restaurants. I know recently you've seen a few go under, you've seen a few close, and you know, I will tell you, in the financial world, restaurants are just above hotels right now in capital interest. So I think we have to be mindful of what we do here to attract, you know, the national type restaurants, the sit-down restaurants. I have some early commitments, you know, based on getting zoning approval that they'll spend the money to offer up some designs when it comes time for the detailed development plan. But I think we need to be mindful of the impact that COVID-19 has had on the food service industry. Things like, you know, concern of fast food and drive-through, that's not our intent by no means. However, we have to have convenient pickup windows, be it car or walk-up, you know, larger outdoor eating areas that we can extend into the colder months with either partitions, coverings, and outdoor heaters. I think if you look at a lot of restaurants, they're trying to gain capacity by going outside. I think the COVID has, at least in the near term, and I'm saying 2 to 4 years, has changed the design of restaurants in a big way. So I respectfully ask that we work on that as a group and be at the forefront of the issue. I agree on the solar panels. You know, I don't know if it's going to work here in Indiana. There is a large solar panel company in Carmel that's pitching it, but at the end of the day, Indiana's not been one of the top solar companies, it's just because of weather and cloud cover. So, we'll try to be as green as we can. Obviously, we'll have a big electric car charging component as we design this. And then, the size issue, I really think with the variety of sports that we're trying to put indoors here, from pickleball to indoor tennis to a good spa fitness area, indoor restaurant, complementing it, and the meeting rooms that we need to host a national tournament. The size of the building on 191st Street will approach 175,000 square feet. So that's pretty much. I got one person to reach out to. There was a late email from a Mr. Dave Compton. I just hadn't had a chance to reach out, but I will meet with that neighbor who's a little farther over. He was not on the joiner list, so but I will make sure I meet with that neighbor. So that's kind of the update where we're at. I believe I'll be able to supply some of the requests from Councilors Poljarek and Johns here by early next week, and we can take another run at it. So that's what I got at this point.
All right, thank you. I think I'm going to roll through the question comments like we do on a public hearing, to be fair to the people who visually aren't here. So we will start out with Dr. Kelleher. Any questions or comments for Mr. Dalton?
Only a comment, Birch. I appreciate the update, and it sounds like you've gone to a lot of work to try to accommodate some of the concerns, and I think they're all positive. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Berkman, questions or comments?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple. One thing, Mr. Dalton, can you explain a little bit this idea of the sporting goods tech center, kind of what that means, I guess, and what you envision there? And then last time you had also talked about the park, and I wondered if there was any new developments. I had a couple ideas on that that I'd like to share with you, but I wanted to see if you've already kind of got a concept plan together for that space.
Okay, I'll talk about the park first. And the Sellers, the Woods family, really have a lot of control over the final size of that, being 3 to 5 acres as part of our agreement. And, their vision is to have a park that, they can be proud of, the community be proud of. And so any ideas you have, we were trying to focus on a natural park with no outdoor plumbing, there, but to connect to the Monon and allow people to come through the park and enjoy the retail commercial and use, probably some public areas there for the bathroom, and to have nominal or minimal parking, not turn it into a big parking lot, but do create some blister parking or parking share with the church to the south. So people, if they want to park there, take their bikes and load up on the park, that's available. But, what ideas did you have on the park? I mean, we're still open for.
Let me send you a couple things. My son actually did a park study for Daniel Tolan and Chris McConnell, and it was for a 4-H project actually, but he actually did some research on park needs in the city, and one particular need that's out there kind of trending across the country is doing parks for kind of a teenage age group. And so there's some different ideas with bigger equipment and kind of almost like obstacle course equipment. And let me send it to you and you can sort through the ideas. But I wonder about this space being a potential area that something like that could work as you tie it into this kind of entertainment village that I think you have a vision for the teams and kind of that age group coming over. And could it be a tie-in with this age group that's at Grand Park also, and of course our community as well? So I'll forward that to you and you can look at it and see what you think.
Thank you, but one comment on the park. As part of the development agreement in the PUD ordinance, the developer, Edrock, would be responsible, to improve the park. There was a question who would maintain it and own the park. I think at the end of the day, the Woods family would have some input on that, along with the city, whether, how that goes. So, but, we'd make the commitment to make the improvements that we agree upon. But thank you, I look forward to seeing that.
And just
So
real quick,
do you, at this point, do you think it's going to go to the city to maintain, to Chris or Danielle, or have you gotten that far?
I have not gotten that far, and,
Okay.
I'll probably need to discuss that at length with, various city officials from, the council to Parks Department and so forth, and see, how receptive they are to have another park to maintain.
Okay, great.
Birch, before you move on, Kristen, this is Kevin. If you don't mind copying me and/or Dane on that correspondence with Birch, that'd be appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry, I'll send
Nope.
it to staff.
You're
and you
great.
can forward it to
Thank
Mr.
you.
Dalton. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I know he's not here, but I'll call his name. Mr. Horkey, questions, comments?
I'm sorry, Randy. I still had that question on the Sporting Goods Tech Center.
Yeah, she did. She had one more question.
Okay, I'll call Horkey again when she's.
So the Sporting Goods Tech Center was something brought to me by William Knox and Kai Chuck from the city. What they envision is to create an incubator for sporting good manufacturers or sporting good service providers. And so, it would, it'd essentially be looking like an office building. And so they asked me to, to save a spot for them on it. So what I see there is possibly merging, like you suggested, and I've talked to Nike, Under Armour, and other providers, from lacrosse sticks to bowling balls, and I think I can generate some interest in creating kind of a sporting goods mall, if you would, or however, none of them want to commit to big, large space. What they want to do is to have certain items there that people can fit, and then they order online and ship them. So then it would ship to this location, they pick it up. However, there's a couple interesting people that would like to service Grand Park, from a broken cleat to a broken racket, so can't tell you how big a demand that is yet, but I think, to have someone that can fix a glove, fix a lacrosse stick, football helmets and so forth, would be nice. So, but yes, we're working on attracting some national people, and I have some relationships with both Adidas and Nikes through over the years working in the school business coaching. So, but to answer your question, that idea was brought to me by William Knox and some city officials.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm still not quite understanding. It's a group of different companies would be there together. They're not really manufacturing, they're selling a service?
Well, I think, possibly both. The manufacturing that I'm talking about is assembling, lacrosse rackets, putting the netting in and handles, fixing baseball gloves, maybe doing uniforms and jerseys, some silk screening, and having kind of a general sporting goods store. And then what William Knox and the city was looking at is trying to attract, people in the sports business. That could be anywhere from a, some type of software program to a, measuring, program or whatever. But they just wanted some space allocated, and, it's something that we'd have to figure out the funding for and so forth. But I think it was important to disclose it in this PUD that may be a use. But you may see retail sporting goods stores throughout the blue buildings in the retail center. You know, I'd love to have, you know, a couple secondhand, you know, sporting goods in there, just to kind of give people something to shop while they're in between games at Grand Park.
Yeah, no, I agree with the sporting goods angle over there. Absolutely. I guess I don't have a definitive thought right now. I'd like to think about it, but that is really a premier spot on that 191st Street. And so I'm not against this use that you're talking about. I think that's great. I just don't know if it should go on that road frontage. But that's just, you know, my opinion on that.
Okay. Well, Counselor Johnson Spalderic had some specific ideas on the parking along 191st Street, and we worked with staff on discussing how many rows of parking. So I agree, we're not going to screw up the frontage on 191st Street, because with the distillery down the road, with this new development, I mean, we're really kickstarting what's going to happen between Tomlinson and Spring Mill here.
I agree. So thank you. I've taken a lot of time. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Horke? Mr. Johns, questions or comments?
First of all, I make a comment to thank you, Birch, for coming back tonight and giving us an update. In my opinion, this is one of the most complex PUDs that I've seen coming to these meetings for the last 3 years. And it's really a multifaceted, and you're utilizing almost every type of zoning, touching on every type of zoning within this single PUD. So it really needs to be scrutinized, and you're doing a good job, I think, doing that. I still got the questions on the suburban rental. We can explore those later, okay? The mixed-use buildings, can you just explain to me again what those are and what they're gonna look like?
Yeah, if you go to my exhibits, do I click on it, or can you click on it? These would be the blue buildings that you see kind of framed in there. We'll start there. I got a lot of stuff. That's single family there. I'd go to District 1 architectural exhibits. One more up, right there. So what the vision is, if you've been to Pigeon Forge, and stay here, we'll go to that upper right, is that we're going to take that water feature, bring it back in, make that a focal point, you know, for, you know, gathering around it, you know, to eat, meet, whatever, rest, you know, have a kind of a light show to kind of give it some pizzazz. But the buildings you're going to see are first floor retail in 1 or 2 stories above it, of which we'll put in Airbnb, of which, to Mrs. Spalderic's point, you know, we'll do the pay to play with Grand Park like a hotel. You know, even though it's kind of outside the realm, I don't think every Airbnb in town's paying that, but I agree with it. I'm here to support Grand Park. But, so I think we're going to kind of create that kind of festival, cool atmosphere. And, you know, we'll build buildings, you know, probably 1 or 2 at a time. You know, probably, you know, I'll probably need 50% commitment on the first floor, because I know what the second floors will do. I feel very comfortable with room nights.
My concern is we're looking at 20 units. And, I mean, if it's in retail on the bottom of those, if it's one retail company on each one, that's 20 different retail vendors that we're looking to attract. And it's just my concern with what you see happening with retail across the country. I mean, we see Terrace closing down, getting rid of their retail. Is it, you think it's really gonna work? Is something?
Well, and, you know, Simon and I are working on 2 projects together. They're looking at this. I'm looking at putting something down at Clay Terrace, because I like their new model, bringing in office, bringing in apartments. And I don't disagree, we're in a kind of a trough right now. But, you know, we're Americans, you know, we get up and we go again. So it'll come back. I mean, the internet and COVID's really changed the world people shop, the way we shop. I get it. So don't disagree. We may have to downsize the amount of buildings here. and maybe leave it, green for a while until we can fill it in. I think the tennis facility pickleball and the magnitude of that project, and I can't name the person yet, but I can assure you he's probably the single richest private investor in Indiana, and all he does is pickleball. He built 2 in his office, and was competing with Fishers with his attention, and he dropped Fishers this week, and he's putting all his effort behind this. So I got a very, very good team coming together. So I think what we need to do is, as we work on, the zoning, time period, coming out of it, David Weekley, as soon as they're zoned, you know how quick they move. They'll be out of the ground next year. I'll have the commercial out in front of it. And this tennis facility, we could be breaking ground, next summer on it. So I think that will be a catalyst here. The Grand Park, I think we all saw what happened in March, April, May. It was shut down. But I did record months in June and July. We were up 20% over last year. Now, pent-up demand, I get it. But still, it's a pretty good show for June, July. And, we had another good, month in October. So, I don't disagree with you. You might pull that down a little bit so I can show something. So, the tennis facility we're talking about will be, fronting 191st Street will be an epic something for 191st. Now, you're talking a 175, 200,000 foot structure, most of it free span. So, it's not a cheap building. You're probably looking in the high teens, low 20s. So I think as we come down on this, if we, I really think that's the key to kicking this whole thing off. That and, getting some of the housing going. So that one's one I kind of like, go back up one. That one doesn't work. It's kind of how we built Pro X. I put it in here as a conversation, but I don't see a metal building here. I see something a lot, nicer facility that has some bang to it. But I think we'll get there. That one's probably a little too expensive. But the investors that are coming in with me are talking about doing a retractable roof. So they're not afraid of getting in the water. But these are tennis sports facilities that we pulled down from around the country. Now, some of these obviously have the luxury of being on a campus, but I think, with low interest rates, substantial equity, we can build something really cool out there.
Thanks, Birch.
Thank you.
Mr. Malley, questions, comments?
Yeah, thank you, Randy. Birch, thanks for the update. I appreciate seeing the improvements that you made. I don't have any questions about the specific details that you shared, but I do have a comment that occurred to me. I'll call it maybe a challenge, an audacious goal for you. This came to mind while you were talking about solar, and I agree, we're not in a great spot for it for the numbers to work, just like we're not in a good zone for wind. But the fact that you were kind of thinking down those lines, I see a village situation like this, and this could be an opportunity for you to do a small district energy system. You've got some diversity of loads with your commercial and retail peaking at different times than some of the other. You have some year-round cooling where other spaces need heating. You've got some water features where you could do geothermal. And I know typically on the developer side, there's, geothermal, the sticker shock, I get that. But the full analysis would need to include reduction in electrical service and not having to screen outdoor mechanical and some of the space that you gain back. Maybe it works. I don't know. It's just something you might look at. And then there's the intangible side of not having the equipment that we're always screening, the noise, and basically putting yourself on the map and saying, look at what we did here. So just food for thought I'm throwing out there for you.
So would you have somebody I could reach out that would be in that world as far as, I have my architect and engineers, but I wouldn't say they're well versed in and being
Yeah.
on cutting edge of green.
No, that's probably not Cooler's forte, but if you want to talk to me afterwards, I could probably
Okay.
give you some names.
Happy to do it, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. McCarty, questions, comments?
Just a quick comment, just to say that I appreciate your thoughtfulness in the project, with everything said being tonight, mentioning Disney Springs and some other projects. I think it's very ambitious and be a great compliment to Grand Park. No, I'm just excited for the possibilities for the future, and again, appreciate your hard work on this, investing in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schmitz, questions, comments?
Yeah, real briefly. I also, echoing what others have said, appreciate the update and the refinements that have been made, particularly the removal of District 6. And I look forward to seeing the rental study when that becomes available. And that's really it for now. So thank you, Birch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spaljerek, questions, comments?
A lot of people have touched on other comments that I've had, so thank you for that. I do have additional concerns with the mixed-use units because I don't quite understand, especially when we come down to, say, like development plan approval, what standards apply. And as you know, I mentioned this to you before, it's a bit tricky because it's almost like a multifamily use, with the Airbnb, plus the commercial uses, but then it acts more like a hotel with the way you were describing it to me. And so, how this all works together and what standards actually would wind up applying are something that I'm still really unclear about.
We'll work on detailing that out for you. Anything else?
I'll probably come up with more when I see what you give me. So.
And I understand that and I appreciate it.
And Mr. Dalton, I appreciate you coming out and giving us this update. I've been kind of excited about seeing this project from the beginning and seeing all the things you've worked through with the counselors and with the other folks to make it into something that's one of a kind. It certainly is one of a kind. And I appreciate all your efforts, and I look forward to seeing it as it further develops and comes through.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have any reports from or comments from APC members? City Council liaison?
No comments today.
Nope.
Nope.
BZA?
We meet next week, so I'll defer to the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from staff?
I don't think so at this time. I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. No further business. Randall Graham makes a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Have a motion made by Randall Graham, seconded by Andre Maui. What, how many years is it? The first time I got that wrong, right? Seconded by Andre Maui. Will the staff please call the roll?
Dr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Ms. Spaljerek?
Yes.
Ms. Bergman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.